Today we're going to just start off where we ended off yesterday, which was the bronze age. Bronze in the Shang Dynasty represented wealth and power and luxury. They made everything the army had, their weapons, their armory, the chariots they made were all made of bronze. It took skilled workers to make all these bronze materials. They would make some vessels that would hold drinks or stuff over 1,000 pounds. I don't know how they moved them back then, but they made big vessels. This looks like one of those vessels. I'm not really sure what the use for this one was really, but I think we already went through this. Okay, we're here? Okay, I felt like I was repeating stuff. Okay, so art, the artists there were very skilled with bronze and jade, which is like a really hard rock. And then they made vessels, and that's like we talked about yesterday, the teotai with many different animals, like combined, like elephant nose, human eyes, bird's ears, and then usually like a dragon body because dragons represented a lot in their religion and beliefs. They also put the language, I'm blanking. Things on the oracle bones, the writings, yes. They also did those. Okay. And then the jade, like I said, was a very hard stone, and it represented respect, and the hardness stood for wisdom. I'm not sure what they got that from, but it meant wisdom, and it was used to make very many art. So. Their government, they really wanted a big army for their government. They had many kingdoms with big armies, and I know at the capital city where the king was, he always had at least 1,000 troops there that would help them protect the city and maybe even send them to war.
Is that picture from actually over there, or is it just?
I think it's a drawing, I believe. Yeah, the king set up smaller kingdoms that his like brothers or nephews or other relatives of the family would help run. Usually, they would come together a lot, but you just usually pass it down from relatives.
So there were like 1,000 troops, so how many people would typically be in a troop?
I'm not quite sure, but I know the army was huge. I know they would send 13,000 men maybe to war at a time. I'm not sure how big the troop was back then. Carl?
The things in front in that picture look like lawnmowers.
Those are the chariots.
Oh, okay.
They lawnmowed over their enemy. Yeah.
Why are they split up into like so many different groups?
Maybe this could be the troops right here. Another troop. These right here are probably the nobles or a king or something on a chariot, observing the army. These are horses. These are probably archermen by the green. So.
Where are the elephants?
I was trying to find a picture with elephants, but I couldn't find one. But I know they used them. Maybe they were already fighting. I don't know.
like maybe like that one ring in the very back, like that chariot looks like it.
Like, it looks like a bigger one. Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
Also, thinking like the super back, it's like black, it's like super small. Would that be like the enemy?
All the way back here.
Yeah, that line of people.
Those look like horses, and maybe those could just be like more nobles or commanders, or I'm not quite sure, but probably just reinforcements or something, part of the army. Any other questions? Shang army, they just used, the king had their strong armies to maintain their rule and expand their kingdom. They were one of the most powerful kingdoms because of their ability to make bronze and produce that in an efficient way. The army consisted of foot soldiers, archers, horses, elephants, and chariots. Does everyone know what chariots are? Okay. Well, with the chariots, they would have someone driving in the middle, and then an archer on the left, maybe a spearman on the right, and it was used by nobles to maybe get somewhere faster, the mobility of it.
What are these little creatures?
These? Horse bones, I think.
And also, how you were saying about like that art and how they carried like tons of it, couldn't it be like on a chariot?
They could put on chariots. And then remember in ancient Egypt, they would have they had the ropes or something, and they would have many of the slaves carrying it. That could have been that too, but.
Isn't a chariot kind of like one of these things that looks like a roller?
Yeah, but probably not as nice, and probably for a totally different reason, but yeah. That's a little bit more classier and carriage, yeah. But yeah, I mean, they're both pulled by horses, and I know they had about 13,000 troops, I believe. They had a huge army. That's how they kept in rule for over 600 years. And that was the main achievement of the Shang Dynasty was the army and how they could expand their kingdom. Social class. Social class, you got the king at the top, and the nobles, artisans, traders, farmers, and slaves. And then if you guys, this is actually in your workbook if you guys want to fill this out. I know you guys will be doing it later, so yeah.
Is it the same, like, social class order as, like, other places like Egypt and Mesopotamia?
It probably has the same social class as some, but some of them have different responsibilities, or the farmers do something different than other dynasties of civilizations. Maybe the artisans created different things with different materials, but yeah, it really depends on the time.
Where does artisans is like a shop?
Artisans and I think artisans and trader pretty much go together. I'll explain it. As you probably guessed, the kings are at the top, and their families. And then the nobles were next. The nobles fought in the armies. They supplied the armies with many materials, bronze materials preferably. And they also supplied them with soldiers and chariots and all other army artisans. They were skilled workers. If you could work with bronze, you were they really wanted you to work because of their creation of bronze. I think since the artisans and traders are right next to each other is because I'm sure the traders would get stuff from the artisans and trade it with other countries or other regions and would work hand in hand.
Okay. Where it says, what about priests and
The what?
religious people?
Like the priests and nobles, pretty much, I would think. It didn't really say it in the book, but it would probably go under the nobles. Because they were always one of the higher ranking classes because of their religious beliefs back then. Traders, the Shang trade was enormous. I'm going to go to this next slide real quick because it talks about that. And then I'll go back if you guys aren't done. But the traders, or the Shang, they used cowrie shells as their form of currency. And they could only get, these cowrie shells weren't available in their region. So they traded with outside regions to get these shells. That's why they were so valuable. And that's why I think the traders and the artisans, and maybe even the farmers, worked together to get all these trades and get all these cowrie shells. But they couldn't get them in their region, so that's why they had to trade with outside regions to get these cowrie shells.
So these shells, did they like find them on the beach and then like paint them or something, or is this
These shells, they're sea snail shells, so I'm guessing, yeah, probably by the beach or somewhere. Because the river went through there, so they could have gotten there too, the Yellow River. Yeah.
Is it called cowrie shells because it has a cow and it's like little dust on a cow?
Cowrie. Yeah, you could. I'm not sure why they call it cowrie shells, but yeah, maybe it was a cow. But, the farmers were the largest social class. They did not own their own land. It was owned by either the king or the noble. They grew a lot of barley or wheat, nuts. They grew vegetables. What else? They grew rice, fruit, nuts. They only got to keep the food that could support their family, and the rest went to the nobles, and the nobles sent a portion to the king. And I don't know what the king did with those, but the farmers could only keep enough money to provide their family. Yeah.
What's jade?
Jade is a hard rock that they used. Yeah, it's jeweled.
I'm not sure if it's jade, but like my mom, we've had this bracelet that's been passed down like a lot, and my mom currently has it.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it's green and it has like that kind of like black stuff on it, and it's like a big bracelet.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing?
It could be, yeah. I mean, jade was used for a lot of things too as well. And the farmers didn't use bronze materials. They mainly used stone or wood for like shovels or for their harvesters. And the slaves are prisoners of war. The soldiers would bring back many as like 30,000 at a time. They were used as human sacrifices to serve nobles and kings in the afterlife. They spent most of their lives building tombs and palaces. They didn't really have a social rank. They didn't really make money.